Hi, folks. So, living in a world with a lot of injustices, a lot of lies, deception, inauthenticity, a lot of corruption, a lot of mindlessness, senselessness, a lot of uh, manipulation, and not just from, you know, the world at large, but also from your inner world, also from the people in your lives, etc., etc. It's everywhere basically in a sense. And so what do we do about it? What do we do about for ourselves when we are observing, witnessing, experiencing, and involved in injustices, that which we think, which we feel is right, is true, is real, is sincere, which is honest, which is sacred, that which we see being destroyed, that which we see being trampled on, okay? When you see rights being trampled on, taken away, abused, okay? People being taken advantage, you being taken advantage. When you see mindless acts of people who go to war to fight for their country and kill innocent bystanders or other human beings or something like that, when we see human beings raping and pillaging the planet for its resources, when we see senseless wars, when we just see even our neighbors trying to pickpocket one another in a sense, whatever it is, when you see snitching going on now with this whole virus story, and you just all these things, when you just see narcissism, rampant rage, when you just see the brutality towards animals and etc., etc., and you see all of this, and it's like, what do you do with it? What do you do? And so that's this talk I kind of want to get into. Like here for example, in South Africa, the government, right? People are starving, because of the situation, starving. And the government has said basically that so food parcels that are donated by NGOs or whoever else, even government, that's supposed to go to the starving people, are being stolen by the ministers or the municipality, the heads of the municipality in the different cities or towns. It's being stolen and not going to the people so they can hoard it in their own house and spread it amongst the people when it's voting time, or sell it to the people as well, or just give it to their friends and family or something or other, instead of it actually going to the rightful cause. And there's been a lot of money that's come into the country, not a lot of money, but money that's been coming, that South Africa has loaned in order to try and stimulus packages, if you will, and that money is also supposed to go for the healthcare systems and just the whole general economy. But people know here in this country that most likely a lot of that money is just going to be stolen, okay? And I was listening to a situation here where a woman, she got the tender to do water tanks in the rural areas for people that just don't have any water, okay? And they've been promising water for a very long time, and so she got the tender for it, and now they need water more than ever, because there's not even food coming in. So they're desperate for water. And so what does this woman do? She manages to make a deal where she stole 83 million rand, okay, by not supplying the amount of tanks that she was supposed to supply. So here's people without water, without even water to drink, not even to wash with, whatever it is. And she's gone and stolen the money. So she can what? Buy a nicer house, right? Nicer car, I don't know, shopping, whatever it might be. Who knows? Looks the part. And so, these things we just can't understand. And so it enrages one. And people are being enraged around the world by what the government is doing. And the draconian measures, again, that word. And we just can't believe it. We can't make sense of it. And it's just, and then we can't stand the other people who are so on board with it and not standing up for their own rights, or not even just standing up, just thinking for themselves, and then pointing the finger at you and being, well, where's your mask or something like that? Where's which I'm going to do a talk on, being, why aren't you playing your part type of thing? And so we get other people who have already conformed and who've bought into, and just in general, the system, and they want you to conform as well in general. And so we see this going on, and it's very hard. It's very hard to understand media, like these news reporters. It's very hard to understand these people who, these fake doctors or something like that who are pushing the narrative, a very fearful narrative. It's hard to understand this, that people, that human beings can behave this way and they actually have a soul inside of them, and it's very difficult because it's so far from a conscious individual, a soulful person's reality and perspective and experience. It just baffles the mind, right? You just can't understand. We can't understand how, what a mindset that person could be and how unconscious they are. All right, and so what do we do about this? Because on the one hand, we know, what's our approach? Because we know on the one hand that, I'm sorry about the echo, there's an echo here, I'm trying my best with this microphone. But we know that hurt people hurt others. Traumatized people, they try and traumatize others. People in pain want to cause pain to others. So what do? Do we just, look at the situation and say, well, they're just in pain, forgive them for they know not what they do. Okay? Let them off the hook. They're in pain. They know no better. Okay? Whatever it is. And not only that, but who are, as it says, who is free of sin, cast the first stone. So who are you to be telling other people, let's say, to try and be mindful, to try and be conscious, to try and be sensitive, right? Who are you to say that when you yourself are not that in its totality? You are not that. So who gives you the right to tell other people what to do, or to wake up, or to see the truth, or to look within themselves? Who are you, right? And this idea that only God can judge me as well. So only God can judge them. You can't have judgment. You can't have discernment. You can't show any kind of reaction towards them. So again, you just got to let them off the hook. You just got to, let bygones be bygones. And now there's different layers to this, because sometimes it is already out of your control, governments, what you're going to do, right? So you need to go inwardly. But in your own life, the narcissist in your own life, right? People who are trying to manipulate you in your own life, who are trying to take away your own freedoms or your boundaries, or get you to think like them, or to put you in fear like they are, or whatever it is, or just, I don't know, many things, whatever it is, in your relationships. And so, you just, what do? You turn the other cheek, right? You justify it. And you can say from a spiritual point of view that, well, you know what? These people who are doing the evil, let's say, the so-called evil, or the unconscious, they're acting unconsciously, right? Those that are, mindless and manipulative and full of evil, full of lust, greed, corruption, right? Vanity, all of them, right? Those ones that are in the worst of the worst. I mean, you don't have to look far for it, but I mean, in sort of these, what do you call it? I'm sorry to say, but just these child pornography rings or something like that. I mean, gee whiz. You try and understand the depravity, you try and understand this, you can't, it's just, and it's also on the one thing, it's like you're saying, well, you know what, which I'll get to okay, let me make my point and then I'll get to it. So at the same time, from a spiritual approach, you'll say, well, you know what, if it wasn't for them showing you what evil is, or showing you what darkness is, you wouldn't know what light is. And if they weren't a villain, you wouldn't be able to be the hero. And there is a truth in that, but it's not a justification to let evil prevail, which I'll get into. So then my point is that it's one thing for you, in your comfort of your home and, I don't know, making a cup of tea and just stepped out the shower and you're feeling okay, and not being confronted with any of this viciousness, evilness, deceptiveness, darkness. You're not being confronted by it. But when it happens to you, when you're confronted by it, or somebody takes advantage of you, something that you see is just so disturbing to you, right? Whatever it might be, could be government, it could be your next door neighbor, right? Beating his dog, starving his dog, or whatever it is, or feeding his parrot whiskey or beer for fun, or whatever it is, or you see people, I don't know, I mean, whatever it is, that that, what am I saying? That when you're confronted by it, okay, that you actually sit in a very, lotus position in your centeredness, in your stoic place, and you say, I'm not offended, I'm not bothered, and I see the higher source and power behind all of this, that's, whatever it is, and it's showing me, it's teaching me, okay? Is that the approach you take? Some would say maybe. But I mean, but to be a human, you are going to be enraged. And this is what I'm, sort of my next point as well, is that as human beings, there is a reaction, and there needs to be an emotional reaction, right, to that which is perverse, that which is wrong, okay? I mean, we even feel it when we look at nature, right? I mean, animals don't feel it, but when we look at nature and we see the gazelle being skinned alive by the jackals, ripped to shreds, limb from limb, and you look and you say, this can't be right, this is absurd, this is injustice, and you want to go help, you want to chase away the jackals or something like that. You see it in nature when, I don't know, it's just dime a dozen, when animals are hurting other animals, when your cat, is chasing the lizard, the gazelle, the what do you call it now? Not a lizard, but a gecko, and and just smacks it with his paw and just bites its tail for the fun of it, and no real reason. And it's like you want to go and help that, the gecko, and you want to smack the cat, and the cat doesn't know why you're smacking it or whatever it is, And so, okay, and you confront it. So it's a human reaction, and to try and suppress it is where that's where you really get into trouble. If you're trying to suppress your rage and your anger of what's going on in the world today, and not just in the world today, but people in your life, things that have happened to you, if you're trying to suppress it, you're going to be in big trouble, because you can't suppress it. It's got to come out, okay? And so we'll talk about perhaps ways of how it can come out, whatever it is. I don't know if it's for this talk, but it's got to go somewhere. That energy that you're feeling, you can't just sort of, look, certain times you have to, certain times when the moment, it's happening in front of you, and if you had to speak out, it will cost you your life, let's say, so it's be like, okay, I need to sort of just keep calm and keep my cool and keep my sin, and not show that I'm having a reaction that can get me into trouble for this, and got to be, creative, imagine these situations. I mean, I think of movies, for example, like the movie Equilibrium, which I don't know how many of you have seen, but it's the idea that emotions are, I'm brief, I'm summarizing it in a sentence. Emotions are considered to be illegal. You're not allowed to feel, and if you're caught feeling, then off with your head, basically. It's called, if you're sensing. And so the main character, John Cleric, played by, I can't remember his name, he played Batman, and I often forget his name. Anyway, so he's not allowed to, he has to go on the hero's journey, but he's feeling and he's not allowed to be feeling. So there's things that are happening to him that he has to suppress that, okay, and not show how he's feeling. I mean, it could happen even with your best friend who walks into the room and, I don't know, they just had a boob job, and you just feel so sad, and they're like so happy, and you just want to cry, and you'd be like, oh, that's not, that, and that they're so self-conscious, that that they believe, they have been bulimic, and they know that they're just, and you just want to cry, and it's like, and they want you to be happy for them, and okay, or whatever it is, you just see, I don't know, at Christmas time, how your sister gives you your niece who's 3 years old a brand new iPad, and be like, look, darling, and your sister looks at you and says, look, aren't I the best mommy in the world for giving her this iPad? Come on now. Or like somebody who, I don't know, you can see they're really overweight in a very unhealthy way. Again, it's not terrible to have weight on you, but you've got to be, also not just, like, what I'm saying is that I think, we're not going to be perfect, but it's the heart of the person. It's the spirit of the person, right? Some of us are chain smokers. Some of us are alcoholics. Some of us are drug addicts. Some of us are overweight, okay? Some of us just do have very unpleasing and unhealthy habits, but we make up for it, right? We make up for it in different areas of our lives on very much a soulful level. So what I'm saying is that when somebody's like severely overweight, when they, and it's somebody that you love, it's your father, it's your mother, or something like that, and they're eating McDonald's, and it makes you cry and upset, and they've said to you, you know the relationship that they don't want you to tell them what they're doing is wrong, and you must just smile and be happy about it, and just go with it. It hurts and it's painful, but you got to hold it in, right? Because a lot of the time you're just not going to win the fight. You're not going to win the war. How many times you folks out there want to talk to people in your life about what's going on, and maybe like I'm saying with this whole CV story, and you want to talk to them about, well, maybe it's not as what you think it is, and you're trying to help them, you're trying to show them, you're trying to assist them and support them and love them, and they're like, they don't want to hear it, and they think that you're a nut job, and you feel that pain inside, and it's like, well, I don't want to feel that. I'm saying you don't want that reaction right then and there, because you have to play an act in this life. You have to play a certain type of role. You have to a lot of the time play that you're disengaged, that you just as desensitized as everybody else. Like you have to. Because a lot of the time that I have found is that when you're so sensitive, firstly, people don't even understand your sensitivity, right? And it just shows them a weakness. I really find that it's sometimes for myself, it hasn't been seen as a strength at times, but a weakness, especially with my narcissistic brother. Definitely show your sensitivity or something like that. Anyway, so we live in a reactory world, and so sometimes you just, you need to, sometimes you have to show like sort of muscle in a way, with a salesperson, or here, like even yesterday I was standing outside my car, and there was a guy, he's so dodgy, he's wearing a vest, tall, just gold teeth, whatever it is, just hasn't shaved in a very long time, very unsavory, thin character, pants almost around his knees, with boxes of pants sticking out, just like really off the street, like a street person basically, and just coming up to me and saying, "Hey man, what kind of phone you got?" And I just thought, "Hey, whoa, and this is trouble." And I needed to, sorry man, and I'd be forceful, not like, "Oh, whatever it is, and why is he asking me my cell phone?" It's like, look, we were in a busy place, but I don't think he was going to grab my cell phone, but he was looking for an in. And so for myself, I had to show a little bit, and I feel that way. Look at me, folks. Look at me. Where's my muscle? I'm skinny boned, right? I wear glasses. I'm as nerdish as you get. I'm as white as you get. There's no gangster in me whatsoever. And you look at me, I know some of you are laughing, but there's no gangster in me. Okay? Yes, I think I've got a roar, I've got a fire, right? And people that, when I have lost my temper with people in my life, and they've said like, they get very scared. But that's something different. But I don't look aggressive, and so people, can easily sort of point me out as and not only that, but like my previous landlord who hasn't paid the deposit back after 2.5 months. All of my landlords, because they see what a nice guy I am, and they take advantage. They see how I went the extra mile to clean the place, to leave it in such a good, immaculate place, and for them, it's just to take advantage. So what I'm saying is, and this is dime a dozen, folks, you have to play sometimes that you are hard as nails, or just as desensitized and emotionally removed and unsympathetic as other people, in order just to get by a lot of the time, but don't forget who you are. So coming back, so what do you do with your rage? Right? What do you do with, what did I say? Yes, again, your frustration. What do you do, right? Where do you put it? Because you're not putting it out at the person where you're going to put it at government, right? You can protest if that helps, whatever. These are things. But what I'm saying is that you don't simply say, they are in pain, they are traumatized, they are here to teach me what I need to do, they know not what they do. Firstly, that saying from the Bible is, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. It's Jesus saying to God, you can forgive them, for they know not what they do. From a human level, that kind of forgiveness can be very, very dicey. They're not even asking for forgiveness, right? So we don't, it's getting carried away. There's another one, right, that says, hate the sinner and love the sin. Sorry, hate this. Sorry, hate the sin but love the sinner. Okay, so I'm getting carried away here. So, because again, we're looking at the justifications that we tell ourselves time and time again on how we shouldn't feel appropriately to what's going on, and how we should give a space for evil, let's just say, to manifest itself, you know. And I'm just thinking, evil will prevail when good men do nothing. Okay. I'm just looking over here. Safe space for sin. Allowing a safe space for sin. Do you allow for evil? Yeah, by sympathizing, that's what I'm saying. What are you going to do with all your rage and your disgust to others? Disgust, that's what it is. Right? Yeah, so again, these justifications I wrote over here. He who he is free of sin can cast the first stone. So again, I've heard this in my life. It's like, who are you well, it wasn't in this fashion in a sense, but you know, the thing is that we're not casting stones at people, right? And this is what the saying again is about: love the sinner, hate the sin. We're showing empathy for them, right? We're showing concern for them. We're not damning them, people. Yes, sometimes we are so frustrated out of that rage, we say, these damn sheeple, these damn mindless zombies of the apocalypse, you know, this, as Agent Smith would say, this virus to the planet, Morpheus. That's what human beings are, this virus. And you're going to feel that contentment sometimes. You're going to feel that disgust, and you should. That's what I'm saying. You absolutely should. It's absolutely healthy to do it. But again, to maintain oneself and realize, but appreciate how you're feeling. This is the human experience, and this is what you feel. And don't justify it. Okay? Again, he who is free of sin cast the first stone. We're not casting stones. And not only that, to say that we can't learn from each other's mistakes. In other words, let's say I'm a recovering alcoholic, but I'm recovering, and I'm saying to my friend, okay, it's not really, okay, just read between the lines here. And I say to my friend, look, man, you're so, and he's an alcoholic, and you got to try sober up, man, for your own health. He says, who are you to talk? You're recovering, you're not done yet, you're still flawed, you're a flawed human being. Who gives you the right? And say, you're right, who gives me the right? But I'm not coming to be right. It's not about being right here, right? It's not about damning you. It's not about that I'm better than you, or I'm one up, I'm trying to get one up than you. It's not. I feel empathy for you, right? I feel for you. And I don't have that quote in front of me because it's on my laptop, but it says something about show, not kindness. You know, it's not actually who is free of sin cast the first stone or something. No. Love the sinner, hate the sin. It's not, sorry, one of these is not the correct version from the Bible. It's been changed. Sorry. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that we're learning. I'm flawed. You're flawed. We're all flawed. But we can encourage each other, right? When it comes from love, it's not coming from I'm perfect and you're not, okay? Whatever it is. I don't look at people in my life that have not chosen to wake up. Okay, that terrible word, or unconscious. Sometimes I do. I don't look at them as if I am better than, no, I don't. I don't look at them. I don't look at anybody. I really feel, no matter what the color, no matter what the age, I really feel, I'm not just blowing my own horn here, that I'm not better than them. Because in the eyes of God, we are all the same, right? But there is a difference at the same time. There is a difference, but you know, like oranges and apples, right? In our eyes, I mean, they do the same thing. So there is a difference, but that's something else. But I do get enraged, and there are times where I say, you mindless, selfish, greed on wheels, depraved, disgraceful, disrespectful, zombie. I have those moments, but they don't last long, and I don't stick there, and I don't, it doesn't, I don't hold that. Like, folks, I do a lot of research here into black culture, South African culture, for blacks especially. I mean, that term blacks is whatever, I don't know what the right word is, for crying out loud. I do a lot of research, and I mean, I spent years doing it, and it's so hard for me, even though I would say people in my life are all black, okay? I mean, in my immediate life, there's no question about it, right? And my best friends are black, or one or two, the ones that haven't stolen from me, and I've spoken about this before, but like, so I'm not a racist at all. I don't even understand the concept of it. I'm just trying to understand the psychology, right, and the woundedness and the victimization that a black person feels, right, and what causes them to be very, I would say, apathetic about life, very having not much of confidence, right, which leads them to being superficial and leads them to be wearing a mask and makeup and hair and whatever it is. And like, I try and understand it. And when I go back into history and I talk to other black people about it, but most people see where I'm coming from. But sometimes I'm afraid if I speak to the wrong people, they'll misunderstand what I'm saying, and say, no, what you're saying is so disgusting, that you're saying that black people consider themselves to be inferior and they have an inferiority complex, and then they blame the white person, and then they, they find it, especially ones in my life, that it's easier for them to steal than they make an honest living. Not all of them, I'm saying, but for myself, and I'm saying yes, because the people in my life that I've empowered, the black people, rather than them being inspired to carry on their own, to do, for me to use me as a springboard, they've stolen from me. 95% of them. And I try and understand this, and I try and understand why is it that black people do have somewhat of there is a stereotypical nature. There's a stereotypical nature to everybody, right? And so when I kind of look into it, I'm just doing it out of interest. I'm doing it out of concern. I'm trying where I can assist people in this country. Hey, the white man's no better than you, right? Money is not the be all and end all, okay? Look after your health. Don't just easily fall into media. Like, why do I find that? Anyways, it's a big discussion. And so for myself, it's not coming out of any superiority complex or grandiosity or something like that. It's simply trying to understand. But again, some people say, oh, who are you to even talk about it? And I'm like, you're right, I can't, because you're not right. But in this country, in this world, you're not allowed to talk about it. Why? Because I'm a white man. But if I was a black man, I'd be able to talk about it. Which doesn't help me, because I'm not black, And so, anyways, you get what I'm saying. So let me start, ending off your winding down, right? Because this is a big topic. So where can we go to from here? Here's the thing. This came to me a few moments before I started this recording. Let's say my friend Sibusiso, okay, who outright stole from me. And there's parts of me that I don't want to know the guy anymore, okay? I mean, I've mentioned him before. He worked in a shop for me instead of creating his own shop on the side, which he had all the opportunity to do. He killed the business. Didn't care. He lived with me for 4 years. He had a terrible earning job before he became the shop manager. A whole long story. So what's my point? What I'm saying is that those who do you wrong, I find, okay, the universe will make up for it. Okay, in other ways, those that disempower you, you will be empowered by the universe. This is just, I don't know, this just came to me now. I don't know if that makes sense. Those who, you lose hope in or something. I've got to work more on this. You'll find more faith and hope in yourself. Right? Those that try and take things away from you, and they do succeed, understand that the universe will give it back tenfold. there is a notion to this. I wanted to include this in this talk, okay? And I really got to think about this. But the people that have wronged you, right? Because the thing is that, again, we're not looking for justice. Oh yes, we so want justice. We so want people to see the ills of their ways, right? The ex-president of South Africa is going on trial again for like corruption charges of like ridiculous amounts. He also dived the country into the ground. I mean, a guy like Robert Mugabe, he's died, the president of Zimbabwe, who ran the country into the ground, mass murdered people who just protest against him, whatever it is. I'm just talking about locally here, not like even the Stalins or the Maos or the Hitlers or whoever it is, and etc. But we'd love to see justice. We'd love to see it. But I'm like, even for my brother, but when we see them in pain, our hearts will break, and we see that they're just human at the end of the day. So again, it's not that we're looking for them to suffer. I'm just saying too much in too much of a short time. It's not like we're wanting them to suffer, right? We just want people to be awake of their true divinity and stop hurting themselves and stop hurting others, okay? And that's what we try and connect with at the end of the day. The brutality, those that are hurting innocent animals, right? That we understand that they hurt in themselves, but it's not about that we want them to suffer, right? Like, we're not looking at humanity. Sometimes I do have these things when I look at humanity and the way that we are so despicable and so disgraceful, that we deserve what's coming and what is now. We deserve it. We reap what we sow. That is true. That is true. But we don't do it as a sense of meaningless, bashing and beating and traumatization. We mean it as a sense of wake the hell up, people. Wake up. Take responsibility, okay? And I'm not telling you to take responsibility because I've taken responsibility. We are all trying to take responsibility together. We are in this together, okay? So that's the point, is that, I haven't really said any conclusions here, folks. I've kind of left this a bit open-ended, which is also fine, But that's kind of my thinking, I would say, And like for myself, the people that have stolen from me, and I've never necessarily wanted them to go to prison. In fact, which I've caught red-handed, didn't call the cops on them, right? But that if I can still honor myself through the process, I find that the universe pays it back to you in kind, in time, and in its own way. I'd like to think that there's a possibility there. I'd like to think that even if you are killed in this life, right? Sounds horrible. I mean, here in South Africa, it's terrible how many people lose their lives. How many, families hijacked, okay, by two guys with guns. And they just kill the father, in cold blood, in front of the children. And not only that, they never stop. They'll throw the mother out the car, one of the children out the car, and they'll keep the one child, right, as a form of to be held hostage or even to possibly be raped. Like, we cannot understand the depravity of it. And so don't tell me in the flesh that that mother can look and again, I've spoken about this before, and not feel enraged, not, you know what I mean? And you ask yourself, how do human beings behave this way? I read in the news the other day, these two young girls, somewhere in South Africa here, their mother had an insurance policy. So they organized their mother to be killed. Okay, I've mentioned this before. To be killed so they can inherit, get the insurance money for the mother. And the guys said, well, we're also going to rape her before we kill her. This is a true story. We cannot fathom this. I actually just wanted to talk about the story of a guy who I've maybe mentioned before, Nicholas or something or other. He was 22-year-old guy who was in a restaurant, apparently on drugs or drunk in the middle of the day, went into the toilet, saw a 7-year-old girl, and he just raped her. Okay, he got life in prison for it. This Nicholas guy was introduced to drugs by his mother at the age of 13. Okay, his mother had him when she was 16 years old. You see, so when you look at it and you say, well, is Nicholas justified that he raped that girl? Is it justified that he spends, the rest of his life in prison? I mean, in the comments in YouTube on the videos, they were saying to him, well, he's going to get in prison what he deserves, what he did to that girl, like 10 times worse. And, people wishing vengeance, praying for vengeance on people, whatever it is. So what I'm saying is that, like, through these what my point was is that if your life is taken by the bruteness of it, that I'd like to think that it still elevates your soul. Your soul is elevated in a way, right? It gets paid forward to you in a sense. That if you go down on the Titanic and it wasn't your fault, right? It just wasn't, you weren't supposed to. It wasn't through your own actions. You were driving in your car, there was a drive-by shooting and a bullet just came and hit you in the head, right? And it just wasn't, but your soul perhaps gets elevated to some degree, or something or other. That you paid forward, that there's a giving, that there's a transaction, okay? That it's not just a take all the time. That I think that even what's going on now, with having our rights taken away as culture, whatever else we're going on, whatever the world will be born into, the manipulation, the propaganda from birth, from cradle to grave, whatever it is, that we are, through it all, our souls are elevated through the experience. It's elevated, it's transcendent. I mean, it's whatever it is. And so, again, I haven't put into a finality. I'm running out of time here. I mean, a conclusion of what I'm saying. It's a whole mixed bag, this, it really is. But I don't know. I'm sure I could even do a part 2 on this, because tomorrow morning something can happen to me. I'm so enraged, I'm so injustice, and I'll change my tune. And I will, because at that moment I'm so infused with anger. I'm so infused, like, whatever it is. And this is the human experience. This is the paradox of existence and being. It's tough, folks. It really, really is. It's not an easy ride. And most people don't actually choose it. I'm saying most people opt out before they even have the, you know what I'm saying. All right, folks, best I can do for now. We'll chat soon. Take care.